Even though cerebral palsy is the most common cause of physical disability in children, the Ontario Brain Institute is warning that the pain often associated with it is both underdiagnosed and undertreated. Joining me now for a look at why that's happening is Dr. Darcy Failings from the Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital and Donna and Julian Capelli. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Donna, your son Julian was diagnosed when he was 1.
Yes.
What was the impact of his diagnosis on both your lives?
I think it was a really big shock for me because the diagnoses came, with other little kind of, like at first they said, oh, well, he's a preemie, so he may be a bit delayed. And I'm like, oh, that's fine, I can handle that. And then they said, oh, he has a hearing disorder. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's fine. And then so when they said this one and they said, what his limitations are physically right now is going to be what it is for the rest of his life, then, yeah, it was quite a bit of a shock. Yeah.
Doctor, currently about 2 to 3 children out of 1,000 in Canada are diagnosed with cerebral palsy, and about a quarter of them experience what's called moderate to severe pain. So first of all, what does that mean? And why is this pain undertreated and underdiagnosed?
These are great questions. So I think as clinicians, we were really surprised to understand that pain was such a big feature of cerebral palsy. We did a study a few years ago, and we identified a quarter of our children had moderate to severe pain that was restricting activities. And we really weren't aware of that. And so just clinicians not being aware that pain is a big feature is something that we need to work on. The other challenges is that often there's many causes for pain, and so there isn't just one cause.
Sure.
There's a few different causes, and so you need to be a good diagnostician and try to figure it out. Sometimes it's hard for the kids to communicate pain and tell their parents that they're having pain. And I think children spend 0 time feeling sorry for themselves, so they're used to having this pain, so they don't tend to focus on it.
Donna, what's been your experience with Julian in terms of pain?
Well, it's interesting that Dr. Failings and you guys are talking about it being underdiagnosed because I remember we used to visit Dr. Failings' clinic for Botox treatments to help relax Julian's muscles. And then one time, one of the residents came in and said, oh, we're doing a study on pain in children. I'm like, pain? Julian's not in pain. And then we started doing the question.
It hadn't occurred to you?
No, because we were treating so many other things. We were trying to get him to use his muscles more, strengthening him, relaxing him. And so all of a sudden there was this new element of pain. And because he wasn't really good verbally, we were surprised ourselves. So when we started asking him the questions, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is another thing that we have to deal with. And I didn't realize that lots of times when he's, in a grouchy mood or crying, that the possibility was that it was actually pain.
What did that do to you to think back in your mind of all those times where your son might have been in pain and you didn't know and probably couldn't do anything about it?
Well, it continues until today because you're right. Like even now, like this past weekend, we had a huge bout of we don't know what, and he was in a lot of pain, and we were trying our hardest to do everything that we could to help him, and we couldn't. And so you feel sometimes as a parent, you failed them.
Doctor, if there was one thing that could make the current system better in terms of diagnosis, what would it be?
We're trying to build the pain screening question into every clinical interaction we have with a child with a disability so that we're not missing it as clinicians. So that would be the first thing I would say.
Well, to all 3 of you, thank you so much for being here, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks.